The WNBA continues to get the kind of attention they shouldn't want. All right. Again, Colin Cowherd is making a point to talk about the WNBA again. He does it now multiple times a week, but only when it comes to one player, or in this case, one player and what it is the rest of the league is doing to her.
Apparently, there is now actual discussion of trading Caitlin Clark. And as soon as Indiana stops breathing heavily, Colin Cowherd shows there and starts stoking the rumors like it's his full-time job. The man has opinions, and this one could lead to a civil war in basketball. Is he exaggerating? Of course. Is he mistaken, though? That's where things start to get hot.
Caitlin Clark finished 9th in player voting. In fact, she finished behind one of her own teammates in player voting. The pettiness has no bounds. For years, the WNBA players were pointing fingers. They were saying people are sexist, we're not being promoted, we're underappreciated. And then they get the golden goose and they don't like what it looks like. When the wave hits, ride it. They wanted to fly private. They wanted to be more popular. They wanted sold out arenas. They got it. I wouldn't have guessed that Caitlin Clark would be this.
Once more, the WNBA is inventing methods to undermine itself as if it were a competitive sport. Don't worry about expanding the fan base or packing the rosters. It seems that they have progressed to structured plot twists. And this time, there's the brilliant idea around. Treat Caitlin Clark like a Pokemon card that may be traded, and refer to it as strategy, as if that didn't ignite the league as a whole. Not just in Indiana, though. The entire organization would collapse in a spectacular conflagration of chaos and poor management. First, let's address the obvious. In addition to ruining the frenzy, trading Caitlin Clark would destroy the league's one surefire source of revenue. This has nothing to do with losing a player. It has to do with losing the plot. Clark is doing more than just dribbling the ball. An entire franchise is being dragged by her. Let's face it, she used her bare hands to bring half of the WNBA into the modern era. Her fingerprints are on every ticket sold, every jersey made, and every headline scrawled.
This is clearly them cutting her down, because when you look at fan voting, obviously Clark is one, right? Because she has the most fans in the league. So that clearly biased. You go to the media voting.
She was 3.
She was 3. That actually makes sense.
I agree. She's not having the best of years this year. She's actually, her shooting is down.
Exactly.
There's been a number of situations that she's just not played her best ball. But she is still much, eons better than a lot of the other players that they voted in front of her.
Imagine then taking advantage of all that momentum and sending it out by a FedEx box. Because there are dumb people and historically stupid people, it's the kind of action that makes people toss their remote controls, cancel their season passes, and start watching pickleball out of retaliation. And here's the ladder with a few more sprinkles.
A university professor in finance looked up the value of Caitlin Clark for the WNBA. This is insane. So this year, last season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark was 26.5% of all economic activity as a rookie on the worst team in the league when she entered it. So now she has an 8-year, $128 million deal with Nike. So, she's going to eat. Merchandise in the league went up off a rookie from a Midwest-based school on the worst team in the league, 230.
But hold on, things will improve. In addition to intriguing trade speculations that the league has too many players to risk with, we now have the coaching equivalent of a soap opera plot twist. Conveniently, the same coach who used to stand by and watch while the cashier was prodded in the eye as if it were a part of the halftime show is now her employer. What comes next? Assign them to conditioning and bring in the trainer who iced her ankles. It's not subtle at all. This is not a match for coaching. It's a prelude. A well-executed performance with clipboards and lanyards, and the message is obvious. Pretend it's for the team, turn down the spotlight, and silence the star. However, we do see you. Everyone can see it. Clark wasn't simply benched. She became marginalized in politics. Additionally, the coach wasn't chosen at random by the front office. The coach was chosen by them. The one whose history of selective justice and passive-aggressive bench rotation seems uncanny. Let's be honest now. To put it mildly, Clark is not a good fit for this coach. They get along like oil and a trash fire when playing basketball. She is not the center of the system. She is being deliberately rejected by it. There is no clash of styles here. In footwear, it's a cold war. As a random bench warmer records minutes like it's charity work, the fallout is evident each time she is removed from the game. And why would a league begin this act when viewers are finally glued to the screen?
Easy. Command.
Take charge of the story. Manage the star. Don't give the supporters too much power, just enough entertainment. A player with real leverage is the last thing they want. That's risky. That is upsetting. That is insurmountable. When you are unable to stop the momentum, what do? You employ someone who is capable. You call it player development and put a kind grin on the hit job. However, the only things growing are a negative reputation and a resentful fan base. This coach was positioned in addition to being hired. Additionally, they're essentially slapping you in the face if you get strong conspiracy vibes. Additionally, don't be duped by anyone into believing that this is a typical reconstruction timeline. No, this goes beyond rookie development. Clark is not experiencing rapid expansion. Like a child who ventured to color beyond the lines, she is in timeout. Because this isn't about basketball, don't get me wrong. This is extremely political, strategic, and personal. The kicker is this. Everyone is behaving as though this coach has a big strategy and is simply being cautious. However, being safe would entail utilizing your top scorer rather than duct taping her talent and hoping that people wouldn't notice.
I'm not going to ignore, nor am I going to take my eyes off of what transpires with the WNBA over the next 2 weeks while Caitlin Clark is out with the quad strain. And the reason why is because, let me tell you something right now. I'm not going to go to word hate. I'm not going to be out there like RG3 was saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark or other players hate Caitlin Clark. But I will say this. I don't think it's specific about Caitlin Clark. I think it's what Caitlin Clark represents. See, it's no fault of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark balls. She balled at Iowa in college. She's balled since she's been in the NBA. She came into the league last year with no break whatsoever between the college game and the pro game and did a thing.
Chess is not what this is. It's whistle-assisted sabotage. It is seen by the fans. It is seen by the broadcasters. It's seen on Twitter. It's noticed by the popcorn guy in row 5. The rest of the league, meantime. Yes, they would like it if Clark were sent away as a lamb sacrifice. If she landed somewhere that didn't treat her like a radioactive liability, can you image the spike in tickets? By Thursday, they would erect a statue for her if you dropped her off in Vegas. She would be the star of Times Square before practice if she were sent to New York. However, under this regime, you might as well be keeping pyrotechnics in a freezer if you keep her in Indiana. Everyone will be disappointed, and nothing will blow up. However, there are still rumors that trading her would benefit the squad in some way. Who is being helped? Without her, Indiana isn't rebuilding. They're going extinct. Other factors include the lottery chances, the confidence of the backup point guard, and the merchandise crew, which is already 2 months behind schedule on Clark jerseys. The only reason WNBA highlights are being pulled from the editing bay by national networks is because of Clark. She is the reason why middle-aged men who have no understanding how the draft operates suddenly become pick-and-roll defense specialists. That isn't something you trade. You guard it as though it were the Ark of the Covenant.
Caitlin Clark had another, whatever you want to call it, confrontation in a WNBA game. Like, why is this happening? The Caitlin Clark phenomenon is one that I got wrong. I never really thought that Caitlin Clark would make the difference that she has in college basketball or in the WNBA. What other sports analogies are out there that are in any way similar to the impact that one individual has had on a larger sporting universe. Tiger was.
However, benching her would be a terrific place to start if you were looking to break that momentum. And adding her basketball rival to the mix would be the cherry on top. All you need to do is make sure everything looked polished. Press conferences abound, and terms like system fit and adaptability are frequently used. While the sabotage is deep, keep the optics clear. The apparent level of calculation is quite astounding. Let's hire the only person in the league who could possibly make Caitlin Clark look replaceable, someone in a suit seemed to say. As that is the goal. Dispel the hysteria. Restore the previous hierarchy, flatten the curve, and, cause collateral damage if a few games are lost. Therefore, let's not act as though this is a case of patience or inexperience. Power is at issue here. The league does not want one player to hold all the power. Owning headlines and entering press rooms is not something that power the front office wants. Power that challenges the status quo at every turn and every three-step retreat. The league had the option to accept it. Instead of riding the wave and letting the magic happen, they constructed a dam and employed a lifeguard to pretend there was no water behind it while holding a clipboard. It wouldn't be a mistake to trade her. It would be a proclamation, a loud, flaming middle finger to fans, advancement, and the league's entire future. And you know what? It turns out that it's not very entertaining to see greatness be mishandled like a clearance sale, so people wouldn't just tune out, they would leave.
She doesn't always get the consistent great star whistle. I think they're still kind of figuring out how to officiate her. Right? Like I've said this for years when I covered Shaq and went to Shaq got fouled more than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, it was insane. People bounced off Shaq. Jokic complains constantly. Like, people are bouncing off me. She doesn't quite get as favorable a whistle as you think. So I think
neither does Steph too. That's the fun.
So feel free to continue benching her. Continue using general coach jargon and repeated platitudes about team growth to defend it. However, don't be surprised when the star you attempted to silence leaves with her fan base in tow, when the ratings drop, and when the fans stop coming. And don't hold the supporters responsible if it occurs. Don't hold the media responsible. Don't even hold Caitlin Clark responsible. Simply respond, "Congratulations, you played yourself," while glancing at the front desk, the coach with the grudge, and the league that allowed it all to occur. With the delicacy of a bulldozer in a glass shop, the league has now focused all of the circus attention on Caitlin Clark just when you thought they couldn't make it more apparent. It's not even a conspiracy at this point. It's choreography. Every suit in the building, including the commissioner and coach, appeared to be watching the same Broadway production of How to Humble a Star Player in 10 games or less. Oh, CC. All she wanted to do was hoop, sign a few autographs, and restore some honor to Indiana. Rather, she's been thrust into the midst of a massive sabotage scheme masquerading as cultural development. She averages 2 points and a nosebleed when she is substituted out, and you can almost hear the theme music playing in the background. He believes that crime is too good, too quick, and too well-liked. That's all. That is the offense. With the audacity to be adored across the country, she entered the league. The authorities are now treating her as though she arrived with a baseball bat rather than a jump shot.
Caitlin Clark was number 1 among fans, number 3 among media. What do you think she was among players?
Dead last.
It's not last.
Not last, no. But
barely made it to the top 10. So she was 1, 3, and 9. Well, Dick Vitale went off on a whole rant. It is pure jealousy. Someday these players will realize what she has done for them. They now have chartered planes, increase in salaries, sold out crowds, improved TV ratings. Stop being jealous haters on Caitlin.
This is no longer basketball. It's scoreboard-based punishment. Additionally, Cece isn't acting out or creating drama right now. She isn't refusing to practice or sending cryptic messages. She is merely a tall, upright, jump-shooting representation of Midwest charm, attempting to make it in a league that views likability as a disease. In the meantime, the W is beginning to resemble a cunning, manipulative corporate episode of Game of Thrones. They are swinging daggers behind the curtain and grinning during news appearances. We must not fool ourselves. The coach didn't get this job by accident. During lunch, the same coach who had earlier shown less empathy for Clark than a DMV staff is now abruptly promoted to mentor. Really? Are we expected to accept that? It would be like hiring a cat to watch over the family hamster. Everyone is aware of how that turns out. Furthermore, the true identity that is emerging here is a passive-aggressive grudge against Clark's attention, even as they give up these press soundbites about teamwork and identity development. She shouldn't be in charge. They want her diluted, holding the Gatorade someplace in the back row while someone else takes the lead, rather than in the spotlight. A brand new culture is emerging. Let's also assume that there aren't any sculptures of Cece outside the arena. It has nothing to do with team chemistry. Control and minimizing her presence are key in preventing the league from seeming to center on a single person, even if it obviously does.